Alvin Bragg, he's on his last legs. Fani Willis, same deal, and one Letitia James. Here's Alan Dershowitz saying that Bragg is a disgrace, that the case against Daniel Penny never should have been brought, and that it is high time the guy resigns. Listen.
Sir, did you want to start off with just the immediate reaction to the not guilty verdict in the Daniel Penny case?
I have to admit I was a little surprised. Having hung on the higher count, I was not expecting that they would so quickly acquit on the lower count. It probably shows that there were only one or two people in the original high count that hung based on their desire to see a conviction. So I think it's a good thing. Now, I think the next step has to be the removal of Alvin Bragg from the role of district attorney. He is a disgrace to the office. The two cases he brought should never have been brought. The case against Donald Trump, which was made up out of whole cloth, which to my mind involves unethical, unprofessional conduct by Bragg, and also this case, which should never have been brought either. He brought it only because of the racial component to the case and because of pressures from Black Lives Matter and other groups on the outside, both white and black radicals who wanted these cases to be brought, wanted this case to be brought, and who are going to continue to complain, even though there were obviously black members of the jury who voted to acquit as well.
Think about that.
Professor.
Okay, so that's an important statement. As Dershowitz points out, this was New York City, and this actually just came down to what was right and what was wrong. And there were black members of the jury that also voted to acquit. Here's Jonathan Turley saying, again, he was surprised that this case was brought.
But it's an extraordinary moment. It took too long. It should never have happened. This case, in my view, should never have been brought. And I don't think that even Alvin Bragg would try to get around double jeopardy in this case. I think it would be absurd. They just acquitted him on the lesser crime. Double jeopardy cases are often argued back and forth by prosecutors. But even in New York, I think that would be a ludicrous step to take. And so he is very likely out of this. He is facing a civil case. It's an interesting situation because he was just acquitted under a quasi-criminal negligence standard. He's now going to be forced into a civil case with a lower standard of proof. But still, he was able to beat the lower standard on the criminal side. So we'll have to watch how this goes forward. But he should never have been put through this in the first place.
Okay. He's right. He never should have been put through it in the first place, but he had a lot of other powers and beings at work. And there was an agenda. And that's what's so sad and that's what's so scary about all of this. An agenda run by this guy, right? Oops, that's a gal. She had an agenda too. I thought I was going to a picture of Biden. Fani Willis, right now, refusing to play ball, will not actually cooperate. She is resisting the subpoenas right now by state lawmakers over the Trump prosecution. I'm going to tell you, you know what? She's going to wind up seeing her fat Fani in jail as well. Mike Davis, Trump's attorney, saying Letitia James better watch out because they're going to put her fat ass in prison. Well, Fanny's about to be heading to prison as well because she's not willing to cooperate. And what happens to people that just refuse to be subpoenaed? Well, she's a lawyer. She ought to know. Look what happened to Steve Bannon. Look what happened to Peter Navarro. They were asked to come in and testify. They were subpoenaed and they refused the subpoena. And guess what? They went to jail. So Fani Willis is now in jeopardy of going to jail because she's refusing these subpoenas. And you know what? If she's going to continue the refusal, then absolutely she should go to jail. Donald Trump saying over the weekend that he's not really looking for this retribution. You know, he's not interested in it. He wants to move on. He wants to make the economy better. He wants to bring down prices. He wants to seal the border. But I'm just saying, if you allow the likes of this woman to refuse the subpoena, if you allow the Alvin Braggs of the world to just go after people because of the color of the skin, of their skin, or their name, which has political connotations, i.e. one Donald Trump, then I think we got a real problem as a society. So this isn't about retribution. This isn't about payback. This is not about anything. You got to actually go after the people that are in the system that are trying to manipulate it so that nobody else stands a chance. And they go after political enemies for a reason. This Letitia James, listen, it's the only thing she's got. She's doing this for political purposes. She can't raise money unless she's got an enemy. So she's continuing to target Donald Trump. And I'm telling you guys, it's getting old. All right? Come up with something new, lady. Because really and truly, as Davis said, you're going to find your fat, you know what, right in the slammer.
And lastly, I congratulate the President-elect Donald Trump. And if possible, we will work with his administration. But we will not compromise our values or our integrity or our principles. We did not expect this result, but we are prepared to respond to this result. And my office has been preparing for several months because we've been here before. We faced this challenge before, and we use the rule of law to fight back. And we are prepared to fight back once again. Because as the Attorney General of this great state, it is my job to protect and defend the rights of New Yorkers and the rule of law. And I will not shrink from that responsibility.
Okay, there's nothing for you to fight, honey. Okay, like it's game over. Did you not see what was decided at the Supreme Court level? She's going to sit there and insist that she's still got a leg to stand on because it's a state case, and that somehow, I mean, by the way, I thought that the appeals court at least decided that the 500 million was a bit excessive, right? Didn't they have to reduce that fine? This news just coming to us moments ago. If you're just tuning in right now out of MSNBC, Letitia doesn't seem to get the message. Not like Whoopi did anyway. Take a look.
Its $470 million civil fraud judgment against President-elect Donald Trump. Joining us now with more is MSNBC's Lisa Rubin. Lisa, good morning. What does this mean?
Good morning, Jose. President Trump's lawyers are trying to get the New York Attorney General to set aside that case. But as they said in their letter today, they're refusing to do so because that case, which was a civil litigation, is primarily and almost exclusively about his pre-presidential conduct and running the Trump Organization. And as they say in their letter, there are over a dozen other defendants who are part of that $450 million plus civil fraud judgment. I want to point out also that this is part of their strategy to sort of extend the presidential immunity argument from the opinion over the weekend. You can see them do that with the New York DA's office as well. That office's brief in response to a motion to dismiss the New York hush money case, where there is also a verdict, is expected later today. We should expect to see them also fight back against the idea that the judgment has to be thrown out merely because Trump is going to be president again.
Okay, so here's the problem.
Lisa Rubin, thank
These attorneys, whether it be Alvin Bragg or Letitia James, they're just clinging to this. They want to try and live another day because they need money for their campaigns, and they have, listen, I've played you the soundbite. I'm not going to put you through it again. But she's gone on and on and on and on about how awful she is and how you need to vote for her because she's the only one who can fight him. And listen, I'm just telling you, she's increasingly on thin ice. Fani Willis thinks that she can defy the law down there in Georgia, that she doesn't have to answer a subpoena. Letitia thinks that she can sue the president of the United States straight into bankruptcy. I mean, this is kind of twisted and kind of weird, just saying. And again, thank you, Mike Davis. We need a few more attorneys out there saying exactly what he's got going on.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you.
Think long and hard.